Christmas from Heaven, the true story of the Berlin candy bomber. This shows the map of Germany. Here's the American zone, the French zone, British zone, Russian zone. See, and how Berlin was all broken up. Christmas from Heaven. On Christmas Eve, 1948, somewhere between Wiesbaden and Berlin, a 27-year-old American pilot gazed into the night sky. Here he is. The heavens were so full of stars, it seemed they would overflow and tumble to earth in a brilliant display of Christmas generosity and joy. Hal, as he was known to his crew, wrapped his hands around the yoke of his C-54 cargo plane packed with 20,000 pounds of flour. This is the real spirit of Christmas, he thought to himself, as he guided his plane toward Tempelhof Air Base in West Berlin. Here's some other pictures. It's about Berlin being left in ruins. There's a C-54 landing at Tempelhof. There he is, Lieutenant Gale S. Halverson in 1944. When World War II had ended 3 years earlier, Germany and its capital city were divided between the Western Allies and the Soviet Union. Then, in a grab for power, Stalin blocked ground transportation into the city. To preserve freedom and keep 2.5 million West Berliners from starving, the United States and Britain began transporting food and other basic supplies by air. Hal was one of hundreds of Americans who participated in the historic Berlin airlift dubbed Operation Vittles. And there's cargo planes loaded and uploaded quickly. A cargo plane loaded with 100-pound sacks of flour. Okay. That snowy Christmas Eve, as Hal radioed for clearance to land, his mind wandered back 6 months to the day that had changed his life. He had been standing at the end of the Tempelhof runway taking home movies of arriving planes when he noticed about 30 children on a grassy strip just beyond a barbed wire fence. In broken English, they asked about the planes, how much flour each one carried, and whether the airlift would continue. Although the children had been on meager rations, they were more concerned with freedom than with flour. They wanted what Hal had always had, the opportunity to pursue their dreams. And this shows Hal visiting with the German children standing behind a fence at the Tempelhof roadway. And here's a picture of the German children peering through the fence at the end of Tempelhof roadway. It's a photograph. For nearly an hour, Hal answered their questions before saying goodbye. As he turned away, one question lingered in his mind. What makes these kids different? All over the world, children were known to beg candy from American servicemen. These children had little to eat and no candy at all, yet they were grateful for what the airlift had given them and asked for nothing. Their gratitude melted Hal's heart. Okay, there's a picture. It says it's a C-47 cargo planes being unloaded at Tempelhof. And there he is in Berlin. Instinctively, he wanted to give something back. Digging into his pockets, he found only 2 sticks of gum. From little things come big things, his father used to say. A broad smile crossed Hal's boyish face. Giving so little to so many could cause a squabble, he reasoned, but a quiet voice within him urged him on. Hal broke the gum into 4 pieces and passed it through the fence. Without a word, the 4 children tore the gum wrappers into strips and passed them to the others. One by one, each small nose was pressed to the paper, breathing in the minty smell. Never had he seen such expressions of joy and wonder, even at Christmas. As Hal watched in amazement, his mind raced. If only I had more to give, he thought. He had his own rations of gum and chocolate. Maybe his buddies would be willing to donate theirs. Just then another C-54 roared over his head, and an idea formed in his mind. I could drop candy from the air, he said to himself. He quickly explained his plan to the children. When they asked how to recognize his plane, he remembered flying over the family farm back home. I'll wiggle my wings, he announced, spreading his long arms and waving them up and down. The children giggled with delight. Just promise me you'll share the candy, he said. All heads nodded in agreement. And there he is, the German children. See, the German children await Uncle Wiggly Wings. By the next day, Hal had secretly enlisted his crew to donate their rations and make parachutes from handkerchiefs. As Hal's plane approached the runway and the grass came into view, he wiggled his wings, and a knot of waiting children exploded, running and jumping in the air. With the precision of bombardiers, the airmen pushed the candy out of the flare chute, and white canopies floated to earth. 30 children ran with open arms to catch the treasures. See, these are the children, and there's the parachutes, the white handkerchief parachutes that help the candy get down to the ground. Okay, here's a picture showing the candy parachutes coming out of the C-54. And there's Lieutenant Halverson. He is holding the first 3 parachutes to be dropped. That's what that picture says it is. Let's see. There's more pictures from back then. As Operation Little Fiddles became more popular, donations of candy poured in from all over. Excuse me. Hal and his buddies were as excited as the children. The thrill of giving was irresistible. Soon they were dropping parachutes every day, hundreds of them. The press caught on, and reports went out. Mail for Uncle Wiggly Wings began piling up at base operations. Hal found himself standing before his superior, expecting to be court-martialed. But the colonel surprised him. "Halverson," he said, "General Tunner thinks it's a good idea." Soon, hundreds of airmen were donating rations. Operation Little Vittles quickly captured the imagination of people everywhere. Candy and handkerchiefs poured in from around the world. Hal became known as the Candy Bomber and the Chocolate Pilot. Across West Berlin, children gathered to catch the parachutes and share the candy with each other, and they sent hundreds of thank you letters like the one addressed to Dear Uncle of the Heaven. Some included maps and instructions. Fly along the big canal to the second bridge. Turn right 1 block. I live in the bombed-out house on the corner. I'll be in the backyard every day at 2 p.m. Drop the chocolate there. Day by day, the parachutes brought peace, and the candy renewed hope. The children made friends of their former enemies, and their parents' hearts were softened. The wounds of war began to heal. See, here's a letter. Dear American pilots, there was much joy when our teacher told us that we could visit the airport today. Night and day you bring us food and coal with your planes. If you would not bring us our food through the air, we would have nothing to eat. I am sure that there will be trouble sometime, and you American pilots have lost your lives in order to care for us. I thank you very much for your help and remain with the best wishes for you. George Sobish. No, Inga Sorbish. I don't know. And there's a picture they've drawn of the planes dropping their candy. And another one. See how they drew the candy bomber, the candy parachuting in? By December, the Little Vittles operation had gathered 18 tons of candy from American candy makers, and 3 more tons came in from private donors. The spirit of Christmas was descending on people everywhere, lifting them up in the joy of giving. And there's a picture of an old fire station became the center for Operation Little Vittles in the United States. The center shipped tons of supplies donated by individuals and businesses. See how it says? It says Little Vittles on it. On the building, that's what it says. And there he is with several candy-loaded parachutes. And there are West Berlin children watch as an approaching cargo plane hoping for a candy drop. There they are, watching for candy drops. That Christmas Eve, the 27-year-old American pilot blinked back tears. The stars overhead could not be more beautiful than skies overflowing with parachutes, tumbling to earth in a brilliant display of Christmas generosity and joy. His father was right. From little things come big things. Hal, in his cockpit, pulled back on the yoke as his wheels rolled onto the familiar runway. This is the real spirit of Christmas, to give whatever we have, no matter how small the gift. In that moment, Hal Halverson prayed for the courage to never give anything less. There's Lieutenant Halverson with an armload of silk parachutes. See that? And there's another one. It says blockade ends, airlift wins. And there's a picture of the parachute with the candy. Now, this has more of a biography of him, and your mom can get the book and read that to you if you like. And this tells how to make a candy parachute. Okay? And there's more of the story about the candy bomber. And there's another note. My best thanks for the sky food. Rose Mary Frick, born Berlin, Schonsberry, Gustav Muller, Plitz and Berlin, 1415, 1948.